my friends over at Space City Weather have got things sort of excited today on the internet because they have announced that the hurricane season for the state of Texas is over. Well, there's some finer print that has to be read a little bit along with that, but excited that we get the opportunity to speak to Eric Berger this morning, again with Space City Weather. And Eric, thanks for joining us, and tell me why today you feel confident that you can make the announcement that hurricane season is over for Texas.
Well, we feel pretty good about that because the historical odds of the state getting hit by a hurricane. Now, we still could get tropical moisture, tropical systems, but we're talking about specifically major hurricane, so significant wind events, that kind of thing. The historical odds of getting hit after this time of year is about 1 in 50. And as you know, John, if you look out at the wind shear forecast for the next 10 days, 2 weeks over the Gulf of Mexico, our part of this area, it's really very high. So never say never, and certainly the Gulf of Mexico is very warm. But this feels like a pretty good time to call it an end and put a lid on this season for Texas. And we really only had one storm, so it was good.
Yeah, I was going to point that out that, again, historically, I look forward to you announcing this is something you do every year, right about this time of year, of course. But specifically, kind of nail down why 2023 could be included with this announcement.
Yeah, we've just seen, the Gulf of Mexico, especially since Hurricane Idalia went into Florida, has just been on complete lockdown from activity. The pattern has not favored storms coming into the Gulf of Mexico, and we've just seen these really very high wind shear levels that even if something had gotten to the Gulf, it would have gotten ripped apart. And that forecast really is expected to continue. That likely gets us into early October. And at that point, we're really entering a fall-like pattern that pushes storms away from the state of Texas. So, again, never say never, but you've got to feel pretty good now in the state of Texas with this hurricane season.
Okay, I'm going to go ahead and pop up the graphic that we show all the time, the climatology of the Atlantic Basin, where, it does sort of show that historic outline, shows, the peak towards the beginning of September. And so I'm going to give you the opportunity to sort of, again, clarify why are you making that announcement now when our graphics kind of would indicate that we still have some fairly active times before we would expect to see that downside.
Yeah, so if you were to show another graphic that kind of shows the focus of activity, the Gulf of Mexico, especially the Western Gulf, really heats up in August and September. But by the time you get to October, things really start to shift eastward. And so Florida very much in play, the Caribbean very much in play. But Texas and even Louisiana to some extent, really the historical odds, fall off. And if we look out further, we're starting to see some evidence that we're going to finally see some significant fall fronts, and just the overall steering patterns and movement of the jet stream. Really, the upper level flow tends to steer anything that gets in the Gulf away from Texas.
Okay, I want to make sure and that folks are aware, you've got Space City Weather. I think a lot of us know about that. But recently you've also talked a little bit more about the tropics. I want you to be able to talk about your tropics page.
Well, you're very kind, John. Yeah, we launched, my partner and I, Matt Lanza, launched the eyewall to take our coverage of Atlantic hurricanes kind of across the country into the Caribbean and Central America. So we've been watching out. It's been a super busy season, but we've been really lucky. I mean, obviously Idalia was a very bad storm, but most of the major hurricanes we've seen have stayed out in the Central Atlantic Ocean, which is the way we like it.
All right, Eric Berger, Space City Weather and the eyewall, thanks for joining us this morning.
Thank you.